Boom, peace intro. What's up, guys? Well, Sunday. I'm sorry I haven't got back to comments on that last video I put up. I'm glad everybody likes those Mustangs. Gasser's pretty cool. Everybody seemed to like them, especially the guys that purchased them. And appreciate it. I haven't been back to the comments yet to answer anybody. I had a birthday party for my grandson yesterday and got busy. Now today, Sunday, I'm down here messing with these cars. But anyway, I've had people ask me, kind of show them some of the things I do on customs, but I'm not good at doing that because I don't edit. And the times I've tried to stick this camera, I think maybe I need to get a different kind of camera or something. I don't know, but the times I've done this before, I'd stick it to the side and I'd let it, I'd have it shining right here, and I'd work on something, and then I'd go back and discover that it focused on something like back there on the paints, and everything up here I was doing was blurry. So unless I'm looking through my camera, for instance, I stick this up here, it doesn't want to focus, so I touch the screen, the object I want to focus on, boom, now it focuses on the object. And so the only way I can do it is looking through my screen, so I know that every time I change, so I want to show you that body in the back, I got to move, touch the screen, now it focused on that body in the back. Real pain in the butt. Anyway, I'm going to try to do some, give you a little idea what it takes. This is a 62. I got to mock up 3 of them. And now that I've shown it, several people want one, so I probably really need to do more. But I got another one to this point. This is what you need to make. You need to make this to get going. And I'll show you what I do there. Basically, you start with this, and I've already drilled it. You don't need any of those. You're not going to use any of those points, so I don't tap them. I don't put the middle hole in there and tap them. I just drill it to get it off the base, so it's off. All I'm going to use is this cab. I'm going to cut right there, as you see. Remove the bed. I'll cut this back right here along the sunroof. I'll cut that off. Keep this windshield. This is important. You'll need this because these pieces up here are what's going to kind of control this. Keep it where you want it and help lock it in. So I'll keep that. I'll need that. Excuse me, guys. Man, I went out, the grass was mowed and everything, and wow, came back in and allergies big time. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been super lucky for a year now. My wife is home a lot of times on like a Wednesday or something, and I'll get home from work and she's already mowed the grass. And I'm like, dang. Of course, I mess with her and go inside and say, well, I'm about to go out and mow the grass. And she'll go, I already did. I'll go, really? Dang. But yeah, I've been lucking out. But anyway, the fresh cut grass is messing me up. Anyway, all I'm going to take off of this is this grill. That's all I'm going to use. And I take my jeweler saw, and I basically cut, first off, I'm going to cut straight down this way. To get past that point. Then I'll flip it over, stick it under there, and cut straight down that way. So I can cut it straight off and have it exactly like I want it. So I'll have that, and then that's all I'll use out of those pieces. And as you see, there's what I'm talking about. I cut that, and that's all I use. You see the one in the background there. I have what, you don't want to focus now? There it is. I took the parts back off of it because it's going to be getting ready to go to the stripper. But anyway, that same thing, all I used on that is the grill. So then basically we'll stick these pieces out of the way because this is the one I got to prep next. I need to prep this next. Right now, well, let me show you something here. Right here, I take my jeweler saw and cut that off. First, I'll chop the bed off, get it to this point. Then I'll turn it sideways so I can get my jeweler saw in here like this without rubbing on it, and cut that as close as I can to get it off so it's out of my way. And then I'll use my Dremel with carbide. I got a bunch of carbide bits. These things are awesome. Super aggressive, so be very careful with them, but they are awesome. They'll chew that die cast up so fast. Now, this isn't the one I used. I use a flat square one, but I'll stick it in there and I'll grind that right off the nub, what's left of it, until it's nice and smooth like that. Then it'll be ready for me to flip over, draw out my lines. I drill a pilot hole right here, so I can get my blade in, and I cut the square out so I have the engine. So I can get the engine in there. So that piece will be ready. So I got to do that to this. But right now we'll stick it to the side until I get to it. And because it's the third one I need to get prepped. So then I take this, and I do use this bit because as I told you guys, I like to set my wheels out fatter, real close to the edge. I just think it looks so much better on the 62 instead of being sucked way in there. But on the 62, it's got this, so does the 83, as a matter of fact. It's got this big lip in here. I mean, it's huge in there. So I take this exact one, and I put it in my Dremel. And as you see right there, I just let it do the work. I radius that out. Just gently let it chew itself right out of there. If you start forcing it, these things will dig in so fast, and next thing you know, you done mess something up. So I just let the Dremel just chew that thing right out of there, get her nice and radiused out real smooth like, and my wheel will go right and never hit a thing. Be perfect. So that one is completely prepped, completely ready. So then I can go to the body, and then I make this piece, this white piece. And basically on these, what you got to do is, to start with it, you'll get this. Okay, get this at Benchworks Toys. I think it's like $3.95, and you'll have to drill it out. The axle isn't drilled, so you'll have to drill it out. I use, this is a 0.5 millimeter. No, this is a 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter drill bit. And I go halfway from one side because I want to start right in the center, and then I flip it over and I go halfway from the other side so I can make sure I start right in the center. That way, if you get off a little bit, by the time you get to the center, if you're off just a little bit, it'll grab the other side and it'll pull itself straight through there. And as you spin it and force it all the way through, it will square itself up, and then you can flip it back over to the other side and run it through until it's nice and squared up. And then you know your wheels are going to be straight, even in the way they're supposed to be. So that's the first thing I do, 1 millimeter drill bit. Then I know that my axle will go right in there perfectly. Not sloppy, nothing. And that axle, I actually buy it from Precision Metals in 3-foot strips. It's number 501, Precision Metals, and I get it in a pack of I get 15 feet for shoot, it ain't much at all, $12, and it lasts a while. It gives me 5 3-foot sticks, and sometimes it's a little more, might be $20, but It's number 501. I've got some 500 also, but it's a bit looser for times that you might have some things that are tighter. Um, I got a little bit smaller axle, but I mainly use 500, number 501 because I use the 16th brass tube from Hobby Lobby, and this 501 goes in there perfectly. I mean, it is just perfect for it. So I think I seen some piano wire or whatever they're calling this at Hobby Lobby, but it was expensive. I mean, the price I was going to pay for like two 12-foot or 12-inch sticks, I was able to get 5 3-foot sticks online at Precision Metals. So anyway, and this is the 1/16 brass tube, and it's at Hobby Lobby. I use it. It comes in a pack of, I don't want to focus on it. It comes in a pack of 4 or 5, whatever. So I use those. And then once you get that down, if you'll look right here, you'll notice this had to be notched. If you look at the front of this, it had to be notched. See? That's because your windshield will not go down on there. You need that windshield to go right down on there and not hit anything. It won't do that unless you trim this out of there. So you got to trim that out gently because this stuff will break real easy. So I cut it with my saw, right down, right across, right down, right across. Then I file it with my files to get it how I want it. Another thing you got to do is on each side you need to take a 1/16 of an inch off, which is a lot more than you would think. A 1/16 here and a 1/16 here needs to come off so that it will go up inside here like you want it to. Because you don't want it hard to get in there, and make it a little loose. See how loose I am? I'm going to need it that loose because when I go, after I paint everything and try to put it back together, it's going to be tight and I'm going to have to push it in there. So it's okay if it's a little looser. I mean, I could actually get this one a little looser, but it's okay. I know it'll go. And so then you've got this prepped, and I do that first. I prep all that and make sure I can get that to go up in the cab like I want it. See, this won't go. This one hasn't been prepped. It won't go in there in any direction. It's not going to happen. So you got to get all that prepped and get that in there first. But then when I'm trying to make sure it's in there, make sure you got your windshield in there and cut off because you need these points. These points are what's going to level this thing out. Once you've got everything fit right, boom, leveled out. Looking straight. Cab, I like it to stop right where the back glass would have been. Just looks awesome like that. Now see right there where I'm sticking out with my base? That's because I haven't filed that yet. After I get done, I put a 45-degree, basically, I file that like that, the base, so that it tapers, then it looks perfect. And so once I've got this where it will go up in there and touch that glass and it looks pretty straight, and it's not rubbing on anything, I know I'm cool. I take and I make a little piece that I glue right there. I glue that little white piece right there. And it's out of poly, real thin stuff. This poly on the bottom is 1.5 millimeter. This up here is smaller. I'm not exactly sure what it is. But I do that and let it stick up a little bit because that's going to pop right behind that lip. See it? And that's going to be a good glue point. When you put this thing back together for final assembly, you can glue it right there. And of course, you're going to glue your grill. And I usually stick a little bit of glue on the sides right here when I slide it back up into my body like that. And then it holds itself together. So once I got that piece on there, I know I'm cool. Then I'll make this base. And to make the base, basically You know, you want to think that you could just make them all the same, but these darn things vary by just a, you know, a 16th of an inch could be a lot. You end up with a gap and then your stuff don't fit right. So I always take it individually and I'll hold this chassis piece where it goes in here, and then I'll hold my grill up there where it goes, and then I'll use my, which I have a one with, I mean, down to 60/4 actually, and I can measure exactly how long I need that plastic to be to reach the rear of my base. So I know I need it that long, and then I know I need it that wide. Okay? So I'll lay that down and I'll cut that piece out square. So I, you know, make sure it's square so it ain't crooked. Then I'll make sure I got it fitting in there and it looks good and it's going where I want. And then I make this 7/16, which I believe matches, yeah, it matches the actual front of the piece, which is perfect because I don't want it in the way. So I make that 7/16 and I just bring it all the way back to the front of this cab or chassis. See there? Now I still got a file right here. I'll prep all this up before it ever gets painted. I'll round the edges and make it all look good. And so I'll mark that, then I'll cut those out. And on cutting it, I use my jeweler saw and I cut this line and this line, but then I just score these with a straight edge and a razor blade and then snap it off. And it'll be a nice straight line. Then I make sure it looks good and it's going to work right. I'll stick the chassis back inside here. I'll stick the grill on the front, and the first thing I'll glue is the grill. I'll put some glue on the front of this and push it in here and slide it forward till it hooks up with the grill. I don't glue anything else yet because you might need to adjust something. So I'll hold it there, and then once that looks good, I'll take that piece off and I'll glue it to this piece. I'll take it back out. I'll put glue all over the bottom of this chassis here. And then I'll set it back in here. And then I'll line my grill up and fold it right down on there and boom, hold it just like that. Give it a few seconds and it's done. And then she's together. Flush with the bottom. Well, I like it to be up just a little bit. It's not, I don't want it flush with the bottom. I want it up just a little bit. So it's up just a little bit. So then I got that good. So now I know I'm already rolling. Now I need to get this front end. Well, I want this baby low as I can get it. So I put another piece of 1.5 millimeter plastic. Usually one of the pieces I have laying over, I can cut it out of it. And I can get me the width I need down there, and I'll glue it on top of that. When it glues, I'll file the side nice and smooth, and now I'm lower, as you see. And then I'll take my round file, and of course, I'll usually set it back on here and look for my center, where I want my wheel to be. Then I'll take my pencil, and I'll put me a little line. I know that's where I want my wheel. Go to the other side, eyeball it again and put me a little line. And then when I take it off and I run that line across there, I make sure I didn't get it crooked by jumping side to side. And then as long as it looks good, I'll go ahead and take my rounded file, rat tail, and run me a small groove in that plastic. Just enough for my axle to lay in there a little bit, just a little, so that it's got more glue area surface to grab the tube, and it helps hold it straight and keep it where it needs to be. So then obviously you got to determine how wide you want your axle. Well, I first piece I do is I get a piece of this axle. I'll glue a bead to it. I got beads over here. I'll glue a bead to it, which I have them in black, gold, chrome, whatever. They call that chrome, but it looks white to me. I think it was in the wrong spot. But I paint them anyway. I paint them whatever color I want. But black ones are good when you want to use them for spacers because you can just leave them black. Don't need to paint them. But anyway, I'll glue that on there. Then I'll get my wheel and I'll see what I need, which I've already figured out on this one that 5/8, an axle 5/8 wide will give me just enough clearance. And then I know where to cut this off because which on this particular one, I hadn't took it back apart. I need to take another little fuzz off of it because it's just, there we go. It was just a fuzz too long, so I don't want it sticking out past my bead when I put my bead on the other side. So now that I've took this back apart, I went ahead and cut it. Now I'll slide that on and it'll be sticking out enough right there. I could actually probably file that again, but I won't. I'll put my bead flush and it'll give it just a little bit of slop. But now as you see, she's really close. She clears everything. And then when I stick this cab on there, boom. Look at that. Doesn't rub anywhere. Perfect. Looks good sitting out there. See how it's sitting out to the side there? I think that looks way better. She's tucked up in there nice. Nice and low. Ready to go. So now I know I got that point ready. And I know that size is going to work. And so that piece is ready. Now I'm not going to glue the other bead on till final assembly because I want these wheels off when I paint all this stuff because I don't want it in the way. And so now that I know I've got that one on, I'll mess with the back. In the back, I want fatter, so I actually space it. I'll do the same method to see what I need, but see here, I got some black beads. And I'm doing that because I want these wheels sitting out a little fatter. So I'll stick that one on there. Oh, just dropped my bead. I hate when that happens. Well, that sucked. Yeah, that's what happens, guys, when you got them little things. And I was going to mention, I'm going to move all this stuff off my darn bench, all these stickers and stuff. Oh, let me tighten this up. All these stickers and stuff, because whenever you drop something, you just can't find it. So let me get another little bead out of here. I'm not sure. I'll just lay some down here and put back what I don't use. But yeah, I dropped the bead. Perfect. That's just perfect. Okay, so we'll get that. That wheel fell off, obviously, because it's not on. Now I got that on. Put that wheel back on. Now you can see how I got that fat right there because I wanted it to stick out and look a little even, look even. So now we can set this cab back on. Try to turn it around, make sure she's straight. And boom. Let me see, I'm going to try to give you a shot of that with the camera. Let's see how low that baby is. Almost rubs on a little piece of plastic laying down there. And it isn't rubbing on anything. That baby will roll great. As you see from the side, wheels look perfect like that. See there? So you get it prepped like that. This dang thing is just constantly. See what I mean? That's what I mean about the focus thing. Unless I stay right on top of it, it does not stay in focus. Okay, so now you got it to that point. This is all the stuff you got to do just to get this thing even close to being able to do anything. Then if you're going to use this engine, you need to cut off right at the transmission there. And you need to cut the pipes off right there. Here's one that has not been cut. So you see where you got to cut it at? You need to cut it right across there and cut those pipes off right there. And gently, because these will break real easy. So I use my jeweler saw to do that. And then once you've got it cut, as you see, it will go right against that housing there, and it'll tie into it, and you won't even notice it. You will be able to look from certain angles and see them exhaust pipes up in there, them headers, which is cool, but it works out good because see your exhaust coming through the bottom. So it looks like it just ran through there and it came together and it's coming out right there. It's going up over the back, and boom, there's your pipes at the back. So it ties it together pretty good. And so once you get that trimmed like that, you're going to take the front and sand that oil pan. See the oil pan? You're going to sand it down with a file just till it's almost to the pulley. Doesn't want to hit, there you go. Almost to the pulley. File it down to there. Then you're going to use that round file again and go through here and file that. See it? Just enough to where it just touches them pipes. It's just about to touch them pipes. So, and that's just so it'll sit on that axle and be the right height. So let me get that. And when you're mocking it up, it's a pain in the butt because your wheels keep wanting to fall off. Everything wants to come apart. So we get to that point. And if you got this filed right, it should sit right on the notch. And it should clear. It should not rub those tires when it rolls. Now, you'll take this, and if you got this cut right, this should go right on there. Fit right where it needs to be. Push your engine up, and boom. And boom, there she is. Rolling perfectly, mocked up, ready to go. Nothing's rubbing. Engine sitting at the right angle, which I leave it. See how I can teeter it a little bit? I leave it like that. If you file that groove deeper, you can get it to sit flat on the bottom. But that groove is where I'm going to glue, and the back of the chassis is where I'm going to glue the engine. So I'll use that when I glue to get the angle exactly the way I want it when I glue it. So basically adjustment. And it'll be something about like that right there. Because it needs to be angled a little bit so it's going to the drivetrain, and that looks about perfect. And then the other thing though you want to do is you want to take your straight file or your square file, and you want to run it right across the back of this. Right there, flat. And just hit that tube, the back of that tube a little bit. See it? So that that's square. And the reason you want to do that is so that when you stick this on there, it needs that wing to finish it off. That's what makes it look really good. But this wing doesn't come with this. It's separate. So by filing that, you can put this right up on there. Whoops. Nice and square. And it'll look like it is supposed to be there, instead of just gluing it to radius tube. So I do that and it'll look like it's supposed to be there. So that way it'll look good. Now, I don't glue this wing on until last, but yeah, it'll basically be like that. And boom, there you go. Oh, that's mocked up. It's ready to take apart, strip, start getting your paint work done so you can put this baby back together on final assembly. And like I said, it rolls great, super low, looks awesome. That's only 2. I got to do the 3rd one. And after I showed it, I got more people that want to, so I really should do more than 3, but oh my gosh, they take a while. But yeah, that's what you do. And now the hardest thing really is, now at this point, you got to paint this. And that's where the real pain in the butt comes in, because you got to get in there and paint all the different colors on this that you need, and getting around other colors and all that. That's where it really gets tricky. That's the hard part to me. All this other mock-up stuff ain't really nothing to me. I mean, getting in here, for example, and painting the seats and not getting it on everything else, painting your pedals, your steering wheel chrome, your gas tank. Get in there and paint that fuel tank around everything else, your exhaust pipes down in here, all of that stuff. That's a real pain in the butt, but because you go back and forth, if you get it on something, well, you come back and you touch that up. It's because, as you see, the bottom of this shows the fuel tank. So in between all them spots needs to be the same. You need to see red if your fuel tank's red, but you need silver if your exhaust is silver. You need black if your frame is black. You need all those to look right. So, and it's not, I mean, I'm not saying I can't do it. I do it. It's just, that's the hard part to me, is trying to get all that done and it not look ridiculous. Because you don't want it to look like you put that paint on with your elbow or an old mop. You want it to look like it's supposed to be there. So that's where the tricky part comes in. And so there's that one. There's that one, and I got to do the next one. But yeah, I put this one together, and the way the paint looks on it, looks good like it is. I was like, dang, man, that would be a nice looking custom like it is. But no, that'll get painted. This is probably, because it's got blue glass, it's going to probably be a midnight blue. And a dark midnight blue. And, they're all 3 of these are probably going to be different colors. They're not going to be all the same. But anyway, that's where we're at, guys. That's the parts I use. That's what I did. I don't usually do these kind of videos, but several people have asked for some kind of idea on what I'm doing. And sure, this is probably a little more extreme than what you were wanting to know, but this is actually it's a mock-up job. And that's what you got to do. You got to make your clearances. You got to do all them things. And like I said, I've done research and development on giant machines for, 20 years now. So that part's not hard at all. It's the little painting that's the pain in the butt. So, well, yeah, once you got it all together and you've done everything right, I can't really lift it all up right now because the pieces will fall off, because nothing's holding the wheels, nothing's holding the engine. But you'll be able to flip it up. You'll be able to see in the bottom just enough that you'll be able to see up in there and see them headers going into the, oh, let me back that up. There we go. You'll be able to see the headers going into the firewall, parts of the engine going in, and it'll all look pretty cool from that angle as well. And just so on and so on. But anyway, guys, there's something a little different. Hope that helped. Whoop, let me see how it fell down too far in the back. It's because I don't have my glass in there. I need that glass. That glass is important. It stabilizes the front. It catches the dash, and it holds everything in place. Boom. Look at that. So there we go, guys. I hope that helped out something, and I know it's a little different, but there we go. So Y'all take it easy. Hope everybody has a good Memorial Day weekend, and peace. Outro.